Yeah, God, Lord, I just thank you for this day. Thank you again for this opportunity that you have given me to just come out here and just share your word. And Lord, I just pray for all those that are listening that walk out with something that you wanted them to hear. And Lord, I just pray that as I speak, it won't be my words coming out of my mouth, but it's things that you want me to say and things you want me to say to these people. God, Lord, I just want to continue to thank you for this day, the opportunity that you have given us to just be here and listen to your word. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, just a little bit about myself, if you guys don't know who I am. My name is Jacob Kim. I've been born and raised in Illinois, or I say Chicago, Illinois, but that's normally because that's the state or the city that everyone knows most. But I've actually been born and raised in Buffalo Grove, Illinois, which is about 30 to 45 minutes out from Chicago. I am currently a senior at Moody Bible Institute. I will actually be graduating in December, Lord willing, with Levi. I am an intercultural studies major, so basically it's a better term of saying a study of missions. So for one of the reasons why I'm actually here in Korea isn't for vacation, but it's also here for ministry, and the reason why I had to be in, the reason why I chose Korea for my internship was because I had to go overseas for my internship, and that was my number one requirement. I had many different opportunities to go different places, but I just really felt God leading me here, and it's been 10 plus years since I've been in Korea. The last time I was here was when I was about whatever age is 5th grade. That was the last time I was here. So for me, I'm here not just to do ministry, but also to study my culture, to understand my people, the language, why do we act the way that we act, why do we worship the way we worship, why do we serve the way that we serve. And as well as using what I learned here as an opportunity to use it in my Korean church back at home. It's a Korean American church, but we also do a Korean service, so it also gives me an understanding of the first generation Koreans. My mom has been born, my mom and dad they're both born here in Korea. My mom moved when she was in elementary school, and my dad moved after the army. So some may say I'm a second gen, some may say I'm close to a third generation Korean in America. So yeah, growing up, I was always asked, Jacob, what is your favorite book in the Bible? And I would always tell people, my favorite book of the Bible is James. If you asked me back then why I chose James, one, it was just because I think that day they asked was just because it was a story that we're going through in the book of James. But as well, the main reason why I chose the book of James when I was younger was because it was a shorter book in the Bible. It may not be the shortest, but granted, when I was younger in elementary school, or younger maybe, that's all I really knew, and I didn't necessarily read the Bible when I was really young. But yeah, I chose it because it was one of the shorter books in the Bible. But if you ask me now, I would say the reason why I really love the book of James is because it's very practical. It's something that teaches us more different steps as we walk with God. And I think James is just very straightforward. He doesn't beat around the bush, or he doesn't say like, oh yeah, it's kind of like this, and then goes to the point. He just goes straight to the point, and I could say with some of my friends, I'm kind of just straight to the point with them as well. So as you can tell, we're going to be talking about James. But before we go into the passage, I want to talk about who James is or was. James is the half-brother of Jesus Christ. Funny thing is, James didn't believe that Jesus Christ was God. He didn't believe that his half-brother was the Messiah. And if you look at me and you hear, if you guys have any siblings or brothers or whatever, if they come up to you and say, hey, guess what? I'm God. First thing that would come to my mind is, you're a heretic. You are not God. But what made James believe that Jesus was God was after the crucifixion on the cross, when Jesus Christ rose from the dead. That was when James said, I believe that my brother is God, that he was called for what he was supposed to be called for. And it's funny because after that, James became, I think it's James of the Just. His name became James of the Just, or something along that term, or James of the Right. And he became the leader of the churches in Jerusalem. So in James chapter 1, James is writing, verse 1 it says, I'm not going to read all of it, but it says, James 1:1b, I guess you could say. It says, to the 12 tribes who are dispersed abroad, greetings. So James is writing this letter to the 12 tribes that have dispersed. And when I was reading that, what 12 tribes was he talking about? He was talking about the 12 tribes after, he was talking about the 12 tribes who are all believers that had dispersed after the persecution of Stephen. So James isn't just talking to non-believers, but James is talking to believers, brothers and sisters in Christ. That James is talking to these brothers and reminding them of different things. So if you would, please open your Bibles to James 1:2-4. I'll be reading in NASB. It's something that Moody kind of just really loves. It's ESV or NASB. So again, James chapter 1, verse 2-4. James chapter 1:2-4. It says, consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So in verse 2, what is the first thing that I see? It says in verse 2, consider it all joy, my brother, when you face, or when you encounter various trials. James isn't saying that if you encounter trials. He's saying when you encounter trials. And it's not that only 50% of Christians will go through trials. Everyone that believes in God and is walking with God, you will eventually go through a different trial. The next thing that he talks about is various trials. When I read that, another thing that really came to my heart and my mind was, what kind of trials is he talking about? Is he talking about losing someone in your family? Is he talking about losing a job? Is he talking about making a big move in your life? Is he talking about your son or your daughter being a pain in your butt? Is he talking about your brother or your sister bothering you and poking at you all the time? I think what James is talking about, these are all different varieties of trials. And as we speak right now, some of you may be going through a trial. It may seem easier than some. You may have lost someone. You may be sick. You may be ill. Some of you may be going through these trials. But you're not the only one that I want to speak to today. I want to speak to everyone that even isn't going through a trial. Because this is going to prepare you and get you ready for when you do go through trials. I think one of the things that we forget as we walk with God, that we go through trials, that not just us, but the people back in the day, the saints in the Bible, even them went through trials. If you guys know the story of Job, if you don't know who Job is, Job was a man that had it all. He was wealthy. He had a great family. He was a man who feared God. He was a man that turned away from evil. He was a man that was blameless. You don't have to turn there with me, but in James 1 through 5, there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was blameless, upright, fearing God, and turning away from evil. 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. His possessions also were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and very many servants. And that man was the greatest of all the men of the east. His sons used to go and hold a feast in the house of each one on his day, and they would send and invite the 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When the days of feasting had completed their cycle, Job would send and consecrate them, rising up early in the morning and offering burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "Perhaps my son have sinned and cursed God in their heart." Thus Job did continually. And you can see in verses 1 through 5 that Job was this man that feared God. He was a man that was very righteous. He was a man that did the things that were right in the sight of God. He even did things for his sons and his daughters. And we always question, why do we go through these trials? I think it's because God always has a purpose for these different trials. In Job 1, 6-12, it says, "Now that there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came along them. And the Lord said to Satan, 'From where do you come from?' Then Satan answered the Lord and said, 'From roaming about the earth and walking around it.' The Lord said to Satan, 'Have you considered my servant Job? For there is no one like him on the earth, and blameless and upright man, fearing God and turning away from evil.' Then Satan answered the Lord, 'Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge about him and his house, and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But put forth your hand now, and touch all that he has. He will surely curse you to your face.' Then the Lord said to Satan, 'Behold, that all that he has is in your power. Only do not put forth your hand on him.' So Satan departed from the presence of the Lord." We always question the fact that, why are we going through this? We always look at God sometimes and say, "God, why is this happening? If I am following you, why am I going through this? Why did I lose that family member? Why am I sick? Why did I lose my job?" And we look at God and curse him, and not necessarily cuss at him, but we curse him. But the funny thing is, these things happen because God has a plan. He has a purpose for us during these trials. There's always this small reason, or not a small reason, there always is this reason that God puts us under these trials. Also, let's go back to James. Verse 2, it says, "In the beginning, consider it all joy." When I read that verse, or that part of the verse, I was like, oh shoot, I gotta be happy, I gotta do this. It says, "Consider it all joy, my brother." And then you kind of think about it, that there's like that dot. When you endure trials of various kinds. And I stop right there. How do I count it all joy when I lose that family member? How do I count it all joy when I just lost my job and we are not going to be financially stable anymore? How do I count it all joy when my son or my daughter is just not listening to me? I don't think that James is saying at that moment you have to be smiling and happy. I don't think that James is saying that you can't cry, you can't weep, be a little frustrated. I don't think James is saying that. But what I do know, scripturally, Jesus even said, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. That even if you're going through something, it's okay to cry. If you're going under trial, if you lost a family member, I don't think it's saying put on a mask, hide your feelings, and just look happy. While in the inside you're crying. I don't think that's what James is saying. But I think what James is specifically saying is, at the end of the tunnel, there is this light. You see what God is doing. Just look at the tunnel at the end of the light. There is this light back there. That's why you should count it all joy, because at the end of it, you will be out of this trial, and you will be more mature than you were from the beginning to the end. That's why I think James is saying, count it all joy. It's not that you are smiling in the beginning. It's okay if you're hurting. If you have a wound, it's okay to hurt. It's okay to cry. But looking at the end of that tunnel is seeing that light, and at that moment is when you count it all joy. That's how you will persevere. That's how you will get through it.